Welcome, dear guests. Many of us fondly remember our college days, and some of you might even be living through them right now. But what if behind the familiar walls of college lie secrets we never imagined? Today, I'm going to share you 3 true and truly creepy stories from student life. Are you ready to find out what can happen in places where we feel safe? Turn off the lights, get comfortable, and prepare for stories that might just change your view of student life forever. Ready to hear the truth? Let's dive in. Story 1. Imagine a quiet college town where nothing seems out of the ordinary. In such a town, in 2017, an event occurred that shook not only the college but the entire community. What was supposed to be a fun, routine party turned into the tragic death of one of the students. This incident still sends chills down the spines of those who remember that fateful night. It was a typical party in a student's apartment, exclusive to friends. On the evening of April 23, the crowd gathered to celebrate the end of another semester. Drinks were flowing, music was blasting, and the atmosphere was carefree. Students were laughing, joking, dancing, and seemingly had their whole lives ahead of them. No one knew this would be the last night for one of them. Among the guests was Jason Carter, a popular student, athlete, and campus star. He was always the life of the party and easily made friends. Everyone knew Jason as the center of attention. At first glance, nothing seemed out of place, but a few hours into the festivities, Jason suddenly started feeling unwell. At first, it was just mild dizziness, which he attributed to the alcohol. But then, things took a turn for the worse. Jason began acting strangely. His speech became slurred, and he could barely stand, even though he hadn't had much to drink. Friends tried to calm him down, but soon he lost consciousness. The party abruptly ended. Someone called for an ambulance, but despite the medical team's best efforts, Jason couldn't be saved. He passed away on the way to the hospital. An official investigation revealed that he had been poisoned by an unknown substance. Initially, everyone thought it was a tragic accident. Maybe Jason had accidentally taken drugs or drunk something spoiled. However, his close ones knew he never used drugs and was careful about what he drank. This raised suspicions, but there were no solid leads. After Jason's death, the college was engulfed in fear and uncertainty. Students discussed the tragedy, built theories, and suspected each other. Parties became less frequent, and many were even afraid to drink from communal cups. No one could believe that someone would intentionally poison Jason. He was loved by all. He had no enemies, or so everyone thought. Months after the tragedy, the town was shocked again by the news. Liliana Reeves, Jason's ex-girlfriend, had hanged herself in her apartment. They had been broken up for nearly 6 months, but their breakup had left Liliana deeply wounded. She struggled with the separation and, as it turned out, couldn't handle the fact that Jason had quickly moved on with someone else. After her death, the police found a note in which Liliana confessed to poisoning Jason that fateful night. In the note, she wrote about being consumed by intense jealousy and resentment. Liliana couldn't bear the thought of Jason being happy with someone else and decided that if he couldn't be with her, he shouldn't be with anyone. That night, she had laced his drink with a rare poison she managed to obtain through connections with chemistry students. She expected no one to suspect her involvement. These horrifying stories sent shockwaves through the college and left a deep scar in the hearts of the students. The truth was unknown, but it did nothing to ease the pain and loss. Jason Carter became a victim of love turned deadly jealousy. His story reminds us that behind the outward joy and carefree demeanor, there can sometimes be dark sides of human emotions that lead to tragic outcomes. So, are you ready to uncover a few more secrets that might change your perspective on college life? let's move on to the second story. Story 2. As we transition from tragic death to something even more mysterious, events that make us question reality, let's talk about a strange incident that occurred in the United States at a small college. This was one of those typical American colleges where life went on as usual. Lectures, parties, studying. However, what happened to one student continues to haunt those who knew her. This student had recently moved to the college from another state, trying to start fresh and leave the past behind. She was an ordinary student, unremarkable at first, and for a while, no one paid her much attention. But soon, her life began to change in the most unexpected way. One morning, she found a strange letter in her mailbox. It was signed by her friend who had died in an accident a few months earlier. At first, she thought it was a prank by some classmates, but the more she read, the more she was startled. The letter contained personal moments that only she and her deceased friend knew. Week after week, she continued to receive letters, each more chilling than the last. The letters described not only their past, but also current events happening to her. One letter detailed how she had bought a new jacket on sale, something she hadn't shared with anyone. Another letter mentioned her low exam score before she even knew about it. She tried to find an explanation, checking the origins of the letters, but couldn't find any trace of the sender. The letters came from various mailboxes, but always contained unsettling information about her life. It felt as though someone was watching her and knew every detail of her daily routine. Paranoia and fear made her retreat from others. She was afraid to leave her house and stopped trusting those around her. Soon she went to the dean and requested a transfer to another college. Her request was granted, and she left the campus as suddenly as she had arrived. What happened to her afterwards remains a mystery. Her acquaintances soon lost contact with her, and those left behind could only speculate. After her disappearance, the letters continued to arrive, but now they were sent to other students in her group. They started sharing copies, hoping to find some clue. One of them, John, suggested it might be an elaborate form of bullying, a way to manipulate and drive someone to break down. But who did it and why remained a mystery. This story remains one of the most enigmatic in the college's history. Were the letters a sign of something supernatural, or was it a carefully planned prank that spiraled out of control? No one can say for sure, but anyone who encounters the strange correspondence remembers it with a shiver. And now, after this mystery tale, let's move on to the next story that might change how you view what goes on in the most ordinary of college classrooms. Story 3. This story takes us to Australia and shows just how ironic and ruthless fate can be. It's about a young guy named Liam who was a passionate animal lover and dreamed of becoming a zoologist. Liam was known for his fascination with flora and fauna, especially spiders, which he had been studying since childhood. He even participated in projects to protect local species. But fate had a cruel twist in store that shocked his friends and family. At the start of spring, Liam began his studies at a new university in a small town on the east coast of Australia. It was a typical week, with lectures running as usual, until something terrible happened in one of the classrooms. Liam was sitting at his desk, preparing for his next lecture on zoo geography, when he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his leg. He tried to ignore it, thinking it was just a minor irritation from a mosquito bite or something similar. Liam was so absorbed in his thoughts about an upcoming project that he didn't pay much attention to the discomfort. As time went on, the pain got worse. Liam noticed his leg starting to swell and redness spreading up his leg. Soon, he began to feel extremely unwell. Fever, severe headache, and general malaise. One of the students sitting next to him noticed that Liam looked really bad and called for medical help. When the doctors arrived, Liam was still conscious, but his condition was deteriorating rapidly. They rushed him to the hospital, where doctors began their fight to save his life. It turned out that Liam had been bitten by a venomous spider, common in that part of Australia. This spider, known for its potent venom, can cause severe allergic reactions and even death if medical help isn't administered in time. Liam had dismissed the bite as minor nuisance, but that mistake almost cost him his life. For the next few hours, doctors fought to keep him alive, administering antivenom and performing complex procedures to stabilize his condition. Fortunately, their efforts succeeded, and Liam recovered. He spent a few days in the hospital until the doctors were sure he was stable, and then he was sent home with a strong warning to be extremely careful in the future. However, this was just the first part of his tragic fate. A month later, when Liam returned to the university, his recent ordeal felt like a distant nightmare. He sat back at the same desk in the same classroom where it all started. Unfortunately, his troubles didn't end with the first bite. Right there, in that same classroom, another tragic event occurred. Liam felt a familiar tingling in his leg again, and soon the symptoms began to resurface. Doctors were called once more, but this time it was too late. Liam died from a second bite by the venomous spider. The irony was striking. He survived the first bite only to face the same horror in the same place. His death left everyone in shock and deep sorrow. This tragedy made many ponder how thin the line between safety and danger can be, and how fate can turn unexpectedly. Today's college stories have shown just how unpredictable and sometimes dangerous student life can be. From tragedies to mysterious events, they all remind us of how quickly and unexpectedly our reality can change. The world of student life is full of surprises, and what seems ordinary can turn into a real nightmare. As the famous philosopher Soren Kierkegaard said, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. These words remind us that we often understand the dangers and challenges only after we face them head-on. Stay careful and attentive. Be sensitive to those around you, and remember that beneath the calm exterior, real dangers might be lurking. Thanks for watching, and we will see you again very soon.